Hey there and welcome back to my channel. So today it is a video long in the making. I struggled a bit about how to approach this kind of video because when I did the poll, I do polls on my community tab. Make sure you keep an eye out to see what you guys are interested in. And there were still like 30 or 40% of you that were interested in this video, but I still had received a lot of feedback and honestly my own feelings about the whole Baccarat Rouge 540 / dupe explosion that took place this year. And I wanted to kind of address the exhaustion that a lot of us are feeling with that composition of notes or that vibe or that kind of scent. There's still, don't get me wrong, a whole bunch of people in the fragrance community that are super into it and love it, and it's still their signature scent, and by all means, you know, it can be, but there's a good group of us who are just, you know, kind of feeling exhausted with it, but are left with a whole bunch of dupes or similar scents. So I wanted to make a video that kind of addressed the questions that you guys had for me personally on some of the dupes I've got, and just share with you kind of my whole feelings. Disclaimer, I do not own Baccarat Rouge 540 or the Extrait. I've smelled both, I've tried both and sampled both, and I don't have them here with me unfortunately, but personally it isn't a fragrance that I see myself ever purchasing. I am more than enough covered with the dupes I've got, and I just, you know, like, I feel like Maison Francis Kurkdjian has so many fragrances that I absolutely adore, one of which I own Féminin Pluriel I love, and you know, there's so many more that I want to explore from him that I don't see that being one of them personally for me. However, I'm going to get through, I have 4 dupes or similar style fragrances that I can get through, and then near the end of the video I'm also going to show layering techniques that I've been using to wear these fragrances because of this like nose exhaustion is what I'm calling it, that I have, that some people have with just wearing Baccarat Rouge 540 kind of, I don't know, I don't want to say bland, but just like straight up out there. So as always, if you haven't subscribed already, don't forget to subscribe so you'll be notified every time I put out a new video, and to ring the bell so that you'll actually be notified. I always leave my Instagram in the description box. Don't forget to follow me on there, and let's get into it. So there's the 4 dupes. I'm going to start with the 2 that are most similar to actually being a dupe, and then 2 that just kind of got a vibe, and then in the third part of the video we'll go into layering techniques, which I actually have 3, not techniques, but 3 layering combos which I have really liked, and I've worn all of them more than once obviously, and yeah, I feel like a lot of you will have these fragrances to kind of layer with. So I will say I will start out of the 2 that are kind of equally similar. I will start with the one I've had the most experience with, and that is Aristocrat for Her by Ajmal. I've shown this on my channel numerous times now. It's got an interesting bottle. The bottle's not for everyone. Some people say it looks like foundation. Whatever. This is what it looks like. I actually really like the bottle. It's interesting in its own way. It's magnetic, which for being so inexpensive, I definitely appreciate. And I think out of the 4 dupes, this is the least expensive of the 3. Of the 4. I forget their prices off the bat, but this is definitely this was the least expensive. So this one, it is pretty similar, I have to say. One of the things that is not unique to Baccarat Rouge 540, but that happens to really exist with that kind of scent, is that it's quite divisive. It's polarizing. There are definitely people who hate it, and there are definitely people who are, you know, ride or die, adore it. And there's also this kind of nose blind quality to it where you can either smell it beast mode for days and days, like hours and hours, or you can't smell it at all at the start. And I have to say, with the 4 dupes, again, that I've tried, I have never gone nose blind to any of them, but when sampling Baccarat Rouge 540 and the Extrait, less so the Extrait, but definitely with them, there were days where I couldn't smell it at all when I sprayed it, and then days when it would last hours and hours. So I felt like the original had more of that quality to my nose, where some days it would be like beast mode stronger than any of these. But then other days I would go nose blind. But I do know that the dupes have had that quality for other people. So keep that in mind as well. You're not like the only one it's happening to. If it's happening to you, there's just something about it. There's also this element which I haven't really gotten as much. I have a feeling now where I understand what people say when they say it smells like a dentist office. It's taken me a while to kind of get that explanation and like match it to the scent. I get what you guys are saying. There is like some people say it smells like Band-Aids, which sounds disgusting to me. I thank goodness I can't smell that. But there is an element to it that is intriguing because it's kind of like burnt sugar, like amber saffron. I don't want to say medicinal, but there's like an element to that that can be off-putting for people. And it can also be very alluring to people. It's alluring to me for sure. And that exists in this one, which makes it very, very similar to the original. It isn't masking that, I don't know, that polarizing element to it with something sweet and more, I don't know, like more like nose friendly, like some of the other ones do. This isn't trying to mask that with strawberry or marshmallow or coconut. It definitely has that medicinal, whether you think it's dentist office-y, Band-Aid-y, whatever it is, this has that. And that's what makes it so close to the original. I don't think anything here is 100% a dupe. However, the first two, including this one, are close enough for the average person to my nose. In my opinion, with what I need in my collection, you know, considering price and just my taste and how many fragrances I have, with this and the next one I'll show, that's why I feel like I don't personally need Burberry Her 540 or the Extrait. If you're a hardcore fan and you love them and you notice a noticeable difference, that it makes a difference for you in your collection, your budget, of course, get the original. Always get the original if it works better for you. But for the average person that, especially in this time, is like dealing with Burberry Her 540 Exhaustion, this is more than enough for me. And I feel like for the price, I actually enjoy the bottle. The lasting power is definitely there. It gets, you know, it gets more than 90% of the way there, and that's enough for me. And I've never gone nose blind to this, which, you know, is an added benefit. So this one's definitely in like the top two that match Burberry Her 540 and the Extrait personally for me. The second one, which I know a lot of you have gotten even more so than Aristocrat, is Haramain Amber Oud Rouge. And this one is a heavier bottle. It's definitely, you know, it's got its own flair to it. It seems bottle-wise, style-wise, a lot more similar to the original than Aristocrat was, obviously for the purple, but in case that matters to you. This one, it's again, more than 90% of the way there, and these two are incredibly similar. Obviously, they're both more than 90% of the way there. They are incredibly similar, and 9 days out of 10, I can't really tell the difference. There are, between these two rather. There are days, however, and today is one of them, which I'm so happy about, just because if I'm like really focusing, or if I haven't been wearing fragrance that day at all, which I made sure I wasn't, because all of these are such powerhouses that my room and me will smell like this for hours and hours, if not until tomorrow. There are days when this, in the opening, and only in the opening, has a touch of crispness to it. I don't want to say that it's like citrusy and this one isn't, because it's not citrusy. But if I'm being very nitpicky and trying to point out the minute differences, there is an element right at the start, and only for maybe maximum the first 5-10 minutes if you're really, really trying. There is a crispness to this, whereas this is a little bit more creamy right from the start. This is quite linear also. I feel like it doesn't change at all from start to finish. And this, there's maybe not even 10 minutes, literally like the first 1 to 5 minutes, there was a level of crispness to this. Yeah, it's in the first 5 minutes. There's a crispness, almost citrusiness, that fades away, and then they become identical, and they both become, you know, 90% of the way there. But that somewhat like minute crispness in the opening is what sets this one just 2 steps behind this one for me. I don't really enjoy that opening as much as I enjoy 5 minutes in and then the rest of it. In terms of projection, lasting power, sillage, they're pretty comparable. I mean, the differences are not even worth mentioning, but it's that opening that if I had to say one or the other, I also think they're kind of comparable in price, but this one's more expensive than this one. Yeah, I mean, it's already kind of starting to change. Definitely 5 minutes in, they're quite similar. I don't think you need both. I truly, truly don't. And if I had to, you know, if I were trying them in store and neither of them were blind buys, I would have gone with Aristocrat. It's less expensive. It kind of stays linear, which I want it to anyways. It doesn't have that slight crisp citrusy opening, and they're too similar to my nose and for my needs, honestly, to warrant having both. Now that I do, you know, I'll wear both and I layer both, but just being completely transparent, I don't think you need both unless you're really into, you know, getting every type of Baccarat Rouge 540 dupe, then by all means. And between the two, my personal preference is definitely Aristocrat for Her. Just 2 steps ahead of Amber Oud Rouge by Haramain. Okay, so now we're gonna get to the 2 that aren't exact dupes, but that have a feel for them. And these ones, I'm sure you've heard about both, so we'll just go in no particular order, and we'll start with Ariana Grande's Cloud. I have the 50 ml. Again, definitely enough for me, but I will say I would repurchase this. It's a celebrity scent, but it's a celebrity scent people, even those who don't like celebrity scents, have purchased. Bottle-wise, you know that it's got the base, which I'm not the biggest fan of, only because it detaches. I'd rather it just be attached because I always feel like I'm gonna drop this. Regardless, this is the fragrance, and in the bottle, you can definitely smell, once you smell it in the bottle, that it has a vibe, let's say, of Baccarat Rouge 540. Even in the bottle, you can tell that there is a difference there, but it smells the most like Baccarat Rouge 540 when you're just smelling it straight out of the bottle. Once you spray it and once you wear it, there are differences that already come into play, and it seems as though the best way to explain this one and the next one is that they are more youthful flankers of Baccarat Rouge 540. The flanker of this and what it's really bringing to the table is it's taking away a lot of that medicinal, dentist office, band-aid, whatever element to Baccarat Rouge 540 and replacing it with coconut and whipped cream. Now, for me personally, to my nose and on my skin, for whatever reason, I don't get a lot of that coconut. What I get is the smell of sweet, sweet whipped cream. I think a lot of people do get that coconut, and it's definitely a note, so I wanted to mention it. There is a touch of it there, but for me, this isn't like a coconutty Baccarat Rouge 540 dupe. It's much more of like a sweet whipped cream, or that sweet cream you might get in, you know, coffee or tea drinks. It's got so much of that, and it's a beautiful sweet whipped cream. I really, really like that note to it. It definitely keeps it more youthful. It keeps it younger. It keeps it girlier. It keeps it more wearable, to be quite honest, if you like sweet scents. If you like whipped cream and if you like sweets, I love sweet scents, so it definitely makes it more wearable, and it, you know, it makes it more of a, I don't know, like a more of an approachable flanker. If they were all going to be from the same collection, this is a lot more of an easy fragrance to wear. And people who don't like Baccarat Rouge 540, because I've had people in my life kind of smell and test these 4, they've still not liked this because it has a touch of the Baccarat Rouge 540 like base in there. But this has been more palatable to them than the 2 that I showed prior, because those are, you know, like 90% of the way into that kind of scent, and this has an element of that coconut, sweet whipped cream. In terms of lasting power, again, I don't know what it is about this combination of notes, but it is insane with its lasting power, its sillage, and its projection. It will just last hours upon hours. It really doesn't even seem to matter which house or which brand is making it. Something about that composition is an insane beast mode, and I'm not complaining. It is so, so beautiful, and I'm really, really happy to have this, honestly. I think it was worth the hype. If you're gonna go nose blind to them, then you're likely to go nose blind to almost all of them, or at least you'll have to check and see which ones you are and which ones you aren't, because I know there's people who can't smell this. But if you can, I really do think it's worth it. And even if you don't want to get Baccarat Rouge 540, I still feel like this is one that you should try out and see if you like, because it's actually quite nice. And then the last one, which again is way more of a, and I think out of the four, it's the one that smells like it the least, is Burberry Her. Burberry Her Intense, which I do love, is much more of a match than Burberry Her, but even that one, I think out of these four, are the least likely to be, I don't know, thought of as a dupe, and the most removed. This, however, Burberry Her, I love what it's brought in. It has brought this synthetic, like strawberry candy, strawberry whipped cream type note into the mix, and it just, it makes my mouth water. Again, because it is very synthetic and sweet in its strawberryness, it can put people off if you don't like that note. I know a lot of people are not into that sweet, like, so those little, I think it was strawberry shortcake, those dolls where she had like really chubby cheeks and she was like made out of plastic, but she smelled like strawberry, very synthetic strawberry. That's kind of what this reminds me of, plus a base of Baccarat Rouge 540. I love this. It is completely up my alley. When I get more into this, because I'm trying to hold off, but when I finish this or when I get like near the end, I will definitely repurchase, but I'll purchase the Intense just so I can have bottles of both. But I've tried both and I really do like it. The other flankers of this though go in a completely different direction and they're not my jam. But this and the Intense I do really like. The strawberryness also in some way, because it's synthetic, elevates that kind of medicinal Baccarat Rouge 540 like base, and in that way this is sometimes, for those people who don't really like Baccarat Rouge 540, this is harder to stand than the Ariana Grande. But in general, I feel like if you don't like Baccarat Rouge 540 at all, then you just know you're not really gonna purchase any of these. And if you like it and you're open to it, even though you're having like exhaustion issues, then this and the Cloud are better ones to try rather than straight up dupes that really aren't bringing anything else to the table other than being a pretty good dupe of the original. So I really like this. Completely on the same path. I think out of the four, in my experience, this has been the strongest projector with sillage, lasting power, like beast. They're all beast mode, but this is the beast of these four being a beast mode. This has lasted through washes. It's lasted through days of traveling on like wearing a coat, traveled across multiple countries, and then come back and have the coat still smell like this. It's insanity. I mean, the way that this lasts, and it's kind of not surprising because the beast level, like beast mode level that this has, that the original has, makes sense when you think about the fact that the perfumer on this is Francis Kurkdjian. So I think he was inspired by his own ability to make fragrances just incredibly beast mode. I really, really do love this, I will say. But again, because especially now of this just nose exhaustion that people are having, this and this are safer ones to try if you do want to try to get into this kind of fragrance without jumping into the full-on dupes. But you do better, at least for this one, because I know you can get samples or try them at, you know, stores if you can. If you live in Canada, you can definitely try this at Shoppers. They always have testers. Do try them, because for whatever reason, if you get put off by synthetic strawberry, you don't want to be left with like an incredibly well-performing fragrance that you are just completely put off by. So that's Burberry Her, and that is the last dupe or similar type fragrance that I have in my collection to Baccarat Rouge 540. Okay, so now we're gonna get to the fun part. How do we wear these? How do we layer these to use them up, to wear our fragrances, even though we are experiencing just nose exhaustion and, excuse me, are just kind of over these scents? So the first one I will say is for Cloud. My favorite combination that I found when I don't just want to wear it on its own is actually with a fragrance I have just hauled. But even though I've just hauled this, I remember having like worn this, gone shopping, and then sprayed this fragrance that I'm going to show. So I've layered it even without owning it for many, many times. And that's why it was like an added thing that made me want to purchase it. And it's actually also from Ariana Grande, and it's Thank You Next. This is very, very sweet, much more sweet than Cloud. And some people think Cloud isn't even that sweet. I think Cloud has definitely got like a sweetness to it because of the sweet whipped cream, but this is very, very sweet, and it's very, oh my God, it's like very intoxicating with its sweetness. There is an element to this that is very intoxicating to me, and it's not that it's groundbreaking in any ways, it's just, it's like sweet sugar, straight up sugar, macaroon, marshmallow goodness. And I am a sucker for sweet fragrances, but there is an element to this that I just love. And there's also an element to her fragrances ever since Cloud that have like this linear similarity across them, and I'm really into them. So these two layer absolutely beautifully together, and the kind of similarity with all the fragrances I'm going to show that layer beautifully, I think, to help the Baccarat Rouge 540 vibe if you're just over them, is very sweet fragrances that feature sugar or caramel or burnt sugar or marshmallow or just sweet whipped cream, whatever it is. I think sweetness has a way of kind of, I don't want to say masking, but just making it more palatable, not having it just shine so much with its medicinal base. And this already is sweet in doing that, but I think if you happen to own both and you're kind of like 50-50 on both, try layering them and see how you feel. It might help things. And if you like both the way I do, I really think they layer beautifully together as well. I actually have the 100 ml of this, which happened, I don't want to say by accident. I would have been happy with the 50 ml, but this was on sale and ended up being the same price as the 50 ml. So I just picked up the 100 ml. But yeah, I really think they layer beautifully together. And if you happen to have both anyways, that might be a really nice match. Then I'm gonna really focus on if you've got straight up dupes. Because if you have this, something that's like the Ariana Grande Cloud where it's not a full dupe anyways, just layer it with something sweet. Like I feel like these two can go well together as well, but Burberry Her is like the one out of the four which I'm most likely to just wear on its own because it's already so, like it's got that base there. I can see why people think it's a dupe. I smell that too, but it's already removed enough with that street strawberry that I don't personally see the need to layer it. It doesn't trigger my like nose exhaustion, if that makes any sense. But these two are the ones that do the most. And for these two, I found two great combinations and I've intermixed them. So both of these work for both of these because these two are both pretty similar. And I'm wearing both of those combinations now and I've worn them and I really think they're great. They add a lot of sweetness and they make them a lot more palatable. Again, you have to like sweet fragrances to be into this, but I find that that's the best match that I've found. So the first one is Dolce & Gabbana Pour Femme. If you have the Intense, which I think more people have the Intense than this one, by all means use that because that's just an even more intense version of this. The notes are the same and they pretty much smell the same, except for that stronger. This is a very sweet marshmallow, just, I don't know, like marshmallow dessert kind of fragrance, and it layers beautifully with these kinds of dupe fragrances. I think it just adds sweetness. It kind of does what Ariana Grande's Thank You Next is doing and what Burberry Her is doing to itself, basically. It's a really good match. And for all of these combos with the dupes, I do 2 of the sweet sprays. For every 2 sweet spray, I spray one of these because these two are stronger, and I'm trying to make these help these out, right? So I'll always spray 2 to 1 is basically the ratio for these. And the other one is actually my good old faithful Pink Sugar Aquilina, just the OG. I layered with so many fragrances because I find it just sweetens it up to the max. This does beautifully on my skin with my body chemistry. This just like comes alive. It's my top 3 most complimented fragrances of all time. It's inexpensive, it's easy to find, and again, 2 of these to this. This is also beast mode, so you can even go 1 to 1 if you're not an oversprayer like me. But my main kind of cocktail is 2 sprays of this with every 1 spray of this, and that lets me wear my dupe type fragrances that I've got on my hands, both of them. It lets me enjoy my sweet fragrances, which I'm still into year round, and it also helps change it up enough where it's not just constantly smelling BR540 over and over and over again, because so many of us are experiencing that nose exhaustion. So I really hope this helped and this kind of new video new type of video was enjoyable for you. I will at some point do a layering video because I know so many of you have asked, but that's going to take a lot more time to kind of talk through all my options. I hope this was a taste that you enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye!